The Tommy Two-Tone Bugger. Start with a Gamakatsu B10S stinger hook in size 4. Now go to a large cone head, here in the color brass. Thread the cone head small hole first through the hook point, and then bring it all the way up to the eye. Then get the hook with the cone head on it firmly set in the jaws of your vise. Now go to some .035 lead-free round wire. Take about 4 wraps before helicoptering the wire off. And since this is pretty thick wire, it takes a little doing to push the tag end around the hook shank, so you might need to use the blade of your scissors too. And then once you get that tag end pushed down, you can go ahead and push it all the way up under the cone head. Kind of prop that cone head right up against the eye. Now load a bobbin with tan 6/0 uni thread. Start your thread right behind the lead wire and build up a thread dam. Then you can go ahead and cut your tag end off. Then advance your thread down towards the hook bend and then back up again, creating a nice thread base behind the cone head and the point of the hook. Now go to some yellow olive Marabou. Find a nice fluffy piece and strip off the whitish fibers that are located towards the bottom of the stem. Measure a tail that will extend past the hook bend about 1.5 to 2 times the hook shank. Keeping that measurement, go ahead and snip off the rest of the butts, and then tie it in right behind the cone head. Advance your thread down towards the bend, creating a nice long tail. Now go to some Rootbeer Krystal Flash. Snip off about 8 or so fibers. Go ahead and fold the fibers around the hook point, but keep each section separate. Bring it on top of the hook right behind the cone head, and then with 8 or so fibers on either side of the hook, go ahead and advance your thread down so there's about 8 fibers on either side of the Marabou tail. Then pull them back and cut them just longer than the Marabou. Now go to some olive Schlappen. Find a nice webby feather and then strip off all the fuzzies. You just want the straight feathers that don't have any of the little fuzzy fibers on them. Do the same to a yellow Schlappen feather, and then put the yellow Schlappen feather over the olive. And then separate the tips from them. This will be your tie-in point. You can tie them in as is, but I like to cut the tips off in a little triangular area. And then go ahead and tie them on the near side of the hook shank with the shiny side facing towards you and the concave side of the feathers facing away from you. Then advance your thread towards behind the cone head and then start palmering your hackle up, making sure that you sweep back all those fibers so they all sweep back towards the hook point. The stems may want to jump around, but you just gotta kind of finagle it so that the stems will be either overlapping or touching, and the fibers will lay down nice and they'll all bend back in a nice even manner towards the tail. You should get a nice blended olive yellow hackle as you move up. Just keep palmering until you reach bare stem. Then once you reach bare stem, go ahead and take a couple of thread wraps to secure the hackle. Then once the hackle is secure, go ahead and cut the stem off. Sweep the hackle back. Then go to some sow scud dubbing here in light olive. Make a small dubbing noodle on your thread, about 3 to 4 inches. Then take a couple wraps right behind the coon head to build up a small collar. After that, you can go ahead and whip finish your thread. Pull the knot tight and cut your thread off clean. And after that, the fly is done and ready to be fished.